Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basili. They look like candy or snack foods or other common food products enjoyed by children, but they're not. They are potent drugs that are now causing hospitalizations and addiction among kids at an alarming rate. The push to legalize marijuana and THC products has picked up steam primarily in blue states. Mental and physical health impacts are also now coming to light. Joining us now to discuss the troubling trends is the Executive Vice President of Smart Approaches to Marijuana, Luke Niforatos. Luke, good to see you. Look, I know a lot of people cheer when these drugs are legalized, but you've been raising concerns over the potential consequences for years. Tell us about what we are learning about how this is impacting our kids.
Tom, it's always a pleasure to be on the show, and I hope you and the family are doing well.
Thank you.
Yeah, we heard a lot. So I'm from Colorado, first state to legalize marijuana just about a decade ago. And we were raising the alarm early on about a new industry that was backed by tobacco, backed by alcohol, backed even by pharma, that was going to deploy the same kind of playbook of targeting kids, trying to drive up addiction rates and all those things. And unfortunately, over the last 10 years, and really in the last year, we've seen a lot of really concerning data start coming out of these states that have legalized. So, there's about a couple dozen states that have chosen to legalize recreational marijuana, Tom. And what we've seen now is nationally, the marijuana industry has driven a more than 1,000% increase in child poisonings from marijuana products. And it's not surprising because I will tell you, here in Colorado, around Denver, a pot shop was using Cookie Monster to advertise hot cookies. We're also seeing gummy bears. They tried to ban THC-laced gummy bears in Washington state, but the industry fought tooth and nail to stop that ban, and they were successful. So the industry is really deploying the tobacco playbook all over again, where we're seeing child-friendly products, youth-friendly advertising on Instagram, TikTok, social media, et cetera. And we're seeing them now drive up the addiction rates to marijuana because, a lot of us thought of Woodstock. It's not Woodstock weed anymore. Much more addictive.
Luke, I think we've all heard the argument. Pot is harmless. But do today's talk to us about what today's high-potency products actually do to the human brain, particularly the developing brain, because more and more kids are having access to these drugs. And like you said, it's not Woodstock weed, which was 7% THC. Some of these products are 30, 40, 50% THC.
That's right. Yeah, it's up to even 99% THC now, Tom. And it's coming in dabs. For those of you who haven't heard of dabbing, look it up on YouTube. You'll see young people dabbing and blacking out from this super high potency THC. So it is not even close to the Woodstock days anymore. And really what it comes down to is I think a lot of us think of, that ditch weed, marijuana from the Woodstock days that, literally no longer exists. But only 1 in 10 people were developing a cannabis use disorder. That's the scientific term for marijuana addiction back in those days. Now what we're seeing is 1 in 3 people who use today's high-potency marijuana will develop an addiction. That's youth and adults. And so what we're seeing with the young folks is that when they start regularly using this marijuana, which they're doing at unprecedented levels in legal states right now, when they start using this new high potency THC, they're seeing permanent decreases in their IQ from 5 to 7 points in IQ. That's going from an A to a D plus in your grades, just to give you perspective, and that's permanent. We're also seeing increases in mental illness. So psychosis and schizophrenia, you're 5 times more likely to develop schizophrenia if you use this high potency THC now.
Yeah, again, we've talked about this on this program, and this is such a failure of these state legislatures. Are any of these legislatures that have legalized, New York, Colorado, California, all of them, talking about packaging regulations, advertising regulations, and even potency regulations to prevent the negative health impacts generally, but also try to keep them out of the hands of kids?
Great question, Tom. And this is why we advocate against the legalization of marijuana, because when you create an industry, which is now a $40 billion federally illegal industry, they will hire the best lobbyists and the best lawyers to get around all the regulations. every state that has legalized marijuana has laws on the books, Tom, to ban child-friendly products, to try to restrict advertising. The industry doesn't pay attention to those rules, or they figure out how to reinterpret the rules to their advantage. And that's not new. We see that with other big industries in this country as well. So that's why we can't build big industries around drugs, because it's very dangerous in the capitalist model of society, because these companies want to sell lots of products. But
and look,
we need to push for high potency
and the black market and the illicit market is off the charts. There's even a pot shop across the street. It's illegal, a pot shop operating across the street from New York City Hall. And it took an uproar for the district attorney and for the officials here to shut it down. There's also something called Delta 9 that made its way through Congress inadvertently. Talk to us a little bit about that. There's now an effort to try to fix that.
Yeah, black market is raging. It's 80% of the market in California. Lots of illegal pot shops selling illegal weed that state regulators are doing nothing about in New York, California, and a lot of other states. So that's a huge problem. But Delta 8 THC, Tom, I'm glad you brought that up. That was inadvertently legalized in the 2018 hemp bill, which they legalized hemp to, for production, for T-shirts, things like that. But it accidentally legalized derivatives from hemp. And one of those derivatives is Delta 8 THC, which acts just like regular marijuana, except it's kind of now sort of federally legal by accident. It wasn't on purpose. And so we're calling on the agriculture chairs in Congress, so Stabenow in the Senate and G.T. Thompson in the House, to close this loophole with the hemp bill in the new 2023 agriculture bill that Congress will pass this year. We need to fix this issue, because Delta 8 THC products are being sold, gummy bears, cookies, candies, except all just like the marijuana stuff, but in gas stations across our country. Florida, all sorts of other states where marijuana is not legal. These black market operators are taking advantage of this loophole in federal law. So we really need Congress to act.
Yeah, and again, this is probably one of these massive bills that was thousands of pages that nobody read, and they ended up legalizing a very harmful drug that now the industry and others are exploiting. But the big message from you today that hospitalizations among children up over 1,300% over the last couple of years, and it's getting worse. So folks, pay attention to this issue. Luke Niforatos, for more information from him and his organization, go to learnaboutsam.org. Thank you so much for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. God bless you.